Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. You're watching Rebel Roundup, Rebel News's daily news and opinion show. I'm your host, Sheila Gunn Reid, and I'm joined by my co-host and my colleague, somebody I rely on very much here at work to help me when I'm busy, otherwise doing things, from Coburg, Ontario, Tamara Ugolini. Tamara, how's it going?
Hey Sheila, I'm doing well, thanks. And I just have to put you on the spot and embarrass you even further by saying happy birthday. What a great time to be 29 again. Um,
Exactly.
I don't, I wish you would take the day and enjoy it, but I hope you have plans later to do so.
I do actually. I do
Good.
after work. But the news never stops. So, like always, I was up at just before 5, starting work, fighting for Western independence. But thank you very much. Yeah, once you get to a certain vintage, birthdays are not so hot anymore. But anyway,
I
thank you.
agree. And
Yeah.
my kids are like, "How old are you, Mom?" And I'm like, "Wait, I have to do the math on this because I actually don't remember. I remember all of your birthdays and how old you are, but myself, not so much."
Yeah, my oldest is 27. So people can do the math on me there. Anyway, I'll tell everybody what we're doing around here and how they can get involved in the show. The show is full of leftists being lunatics today, and those are my favorite shows. If you're watching us on Rumble, that's an excellent free speech platform. If you want to support our work out of the goodness of your heart, out of your own free will, as opposed to what the federal government makes you do with failing mainstream media companies, you can leave a Rumble rant. That's our paid chat over there. If it's over the $5 US cutoff, we are hereby reading it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our very best, time permitting. But I should tell you, when Tamara and I are on the show together, the editorial department becomes a company-wide bottleneck. So if you have chats, get them in early. If you're watching us on YouTube, same rules apply. Their paid chat is called the Super Chat. And if you missed the live version of the show, but maybe you want to wish me happy birthday, consider leaving a paid comment called a super thanks. All right, that's it. Let's get into the news of the day. Story that I fell in love with yesterday, actually 2 nights ago, but we talked about it yesterday. Um, Now CTV News is reporting it. ICE detains Canadian woman, and that's one of the more flattering photos of this lady. After allegedly assaulting a teen wearing Trump clothing. It was initially reported as a Trump t-shirt, but I think it was like maybe Trump sweatpants. This woman is from, I think, Ontario. Is that true?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, that's for sure.
Anyway, she's not from the West. We're not claiming her, but she's being held in an ICE detention facility. Her name is Caitlin E. Tracy, 33. She does have a septum ring normally. I suppose she's had to take it out while she's in ICE detention. And they say this is quite something from CTV because we actually have footage of the assault now. Um, a Canadian woman was charged after an alleged assault involving a teenage girl on a New York City boardwalk. She's now in custody of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, with the agency alleging she overstayed her visa after entering the United States 2 years ago. Not only has she overstayed her visa, but she attacked, like viciously attacked, a teenage girl who was minding her own business. And her husband's pleas yesterday, his whining and his pleading yesterday, just warmed the cockles of my aging heart. Where's Was it the police press release? Anyway, doesn't matter where you're from. If you are illegally and unlawfully in the United States, ICE is coming for you, especially if you are an illegal criminal. You're a criminal by virtue of, see, they just look exactly how you think they would look.
Hmm.
If you are overstaying your visa, you are by virtue a criminal in the United States. And then when you are overstaying your visa and then get a little wild on some teenagers who are minding their own business, who did nothing more than wear a shirt you didn't like, you're going to an ICE detention facility. That's how it works. You know what? I wish this for us Canadians. But
Right.
instead, if you get in trouble in Canada and you're an illegal alien, you will get a judge who will reduce your sentence so that it doesn't hurt your immigration status. And if you are an illegal criminal in this country who has overstayed their visa, well, you know what? Maybe we'll get to you, maybe we won't. And it's usually maybe we won't. This is the video. Oh God, they just look exact like stereotypes are stereotypes because they are by and large true. And this girl is exactly what you think she is. These kids just walk, and she walks up and just clocks this kid. I would tie that woman in a knot if she did that to my kid, but my kid's
Wow.
bigger than me and she would do it first.
Wow, that is horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. The CTV news article, it's not clear, but it sounds like this woman is from Toronto because
Yeah. Knew it.
they
I was going to say
thanked,
Montreal, but Toronto's fine too.
yeah, it's a toss up really. They thanked Toronto Police Services 11 Division for I guess their assistance. Basically the Point Pleasant Beach Police in the United States thanked several agencies, and that included TPS 11 Division. But Toronto police told CTV News that they are looking into the matter to determine what role they played, and said that any role that they played would likely be a minor one, and they are yet to send a full response. So it's unclear, but it does sound like she was probably from Toronto and somehow, in some way, even if just a minor way, the TPS helped in this investigation. But I mean, it just brings me back all the time to people who have TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, living in the United States illegally. I mean, you cannot get any more ironic or hypocritical than that. If you hate Trump so much, why are
Right.
you staying in that country illegally anyway?
Oh, these people. They are like, I couldn't make them up to tell a joke about leftists in my head. Like, I couldn't come up with a more accurate depiction if I bought into every single leftist stereotype and then tried to make a caricature of people.
Oh.
Like, this is quite something. Um, I bet you TPS 11 division probably just confirmed her residence, her previous residence in the United States, or when she turned over her Canadian ID, they probably just said, "Yeah, that's her." But I love how the TPS is like, "Ooh, no, ICE, don't thank us. Don't get the ICE cooties on us." Like,
They're just
settle down.
they're just trying to distance themselves in any way possible. Like, no,
Mm.
we could not in any shape or form be responsible for any sort of deportation or responsibility for this individual. It doesn't seem, or they haven't said anything yet, whether or not she'll be deported. I would imagine that
Oh, for
they would be
sure.
because the US actually upholds law and order in that country, rather than here in Canada, where judges do anything that they can to avoid deportation of
Yep.
immigrant criminals.
Yes.
Um, Illegal alien criminals. But yeah, this is a classic and a great example of, I would use a different word usually, but fool around and find out.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is exactly that.
Yeah, this is a leftist getting mugged by reality. I think her problem is that she is Canadian and she is completely unaware that other countries tend to enforce their laws, including immigration laws and laws against simple assault. Like, welcome to the real world, sister. You're from Canada's fallen state. That's not what it's like in the United States. I look so forward to seeing her deportation because one of my private joys in life is going on the uh, ICE social media pages and like DHS social media pages, the Border Patrol social media pages, and then their fun videos with fun music of people being deported. It just makes me so happy because I want that for us. I love it. I'm jealous. I want it for us. Department of Homeland Security, so DHS, they issued a statement yesterday saying that Caitlin Tracy is a criminal illegal alien from Canada who is charged with simple assault, neglect of a child, compounding crime, and harassing communication. She allegedly struck a teenage girl. Well, we saw the video. I think legally, I suppose you have to say allegedly, but she did it. wearing pro-Trump memorabilia on a boardwalk in Point Pleasant Beach during the July 4th long weekend. So she was wearing like pro-US, pro-Trump stuff on the most appropriate day to do it. She was arrested at the Point Pleasant Beach Police Department. She was arrested by the Point Pleasant Beach Police Department, who facilitated a controlled transfer into ICE custody, where she will remain pending her immigration proceedings. She entered the United States on April 14th, 2024, on a visa set to expire on September 6th, 2024. In violation of our nation's laws, she overstayed her visa and failed to depart. Now, she is married to an American. So I imagine, and they said they've been married for 3 years, or he said they've been married for 3 years. I thought these people didn't even get married, like these kinds of people. They don't believe in the institution of marriage. But that means that he's been residing in our country in the likelihood that they have been residing together. So if she gets deported, we get him too. I feel like we're the losers here.
Yeah, and I'd really like to know neglect of a child. So they potentially have a child together and
I think it has
like,
to do with the assault.
mm,
Yeah, I'm not sure though. Um, and we watched the video of the husband just whining and saying he doesn't know what to do. His wife is in ICE custody and he doesn't know how to send her money there because nothing works. And he said that people are spreading misinformation. Why? How? By posting his own TikToks. We went through the video yesterday of him wishing that the Trumps, but also the Trump grandchildren got cancer and died. And he was praying for another assassination attempt on President Trump. Um, and then he said people who are saying these things, mean things about his wife, are just vile.
that's rich.
Yeah, exactly. And now, and as he was begging for money, I think he had a GoFundMe, but now it's been taken down, which makes me happy too.
Yeah, I wonder
Um,
if it was the platform or the backlash that he inevitably received.
um,
Okay.
so it says GoFundMe took the campaign down. Her Trump-hating husband, Matthew Gironi, said in an interview with NJ.com. Screenshots suggested it had collected nearly 4,500, roughly the half the 9,000 being sought. He blamed in his video like a pro-Trump mob, but it clearly violates the uh, terms of service of GoFundMe, that they don't allow GoFundMe to support people involved in violent crime.
Yeah, which makes total sense. And I think that was not even, there was not even that sort of justification when they took down the trucker convoy funds back in 2022 for people who were just trying to simply supply the truckers in Ottawa with food and gas and the amenities for shelter if they needed it. Um,
Yes.
so you can see that the GoFundMe, I mean, I stand by their decision in this case, but they will also just kind of unilaterally and arbitrarily enforce policies as they see fit. But yeah, this both this woman and her husband are obviously getting a healthy dose of fool around and find out, and now are in complete meltdown over the fallout of their own decisions and choices. I mean, you don't upload full TikToks without at least thinking to yourself and making the conscious decision to not only say those things, but then post them for the entire internet to come across. I mean, surprise, surprise, here's what happened when you act like a crazy person.
Yeah. Um, I'm glad you mentioned the trucker convoy. Um, I just was catching up on my trucker convoy hacker news the other day, and I see the guy. I'm going to be
Guy,
very
question mark.
guy. I'm going to be very careful about how I talk about this, just because, well, he's in jail for the next 18 months anyway. Canadian hacker Aubrey Cottle sentenced to 18 months after pleading guilty to cyber attack charges. He hacked the uh, Texas Republican Party's database and now he's in jail. And so us Canadians aren't sending our best leftists to bother the Americans, that's for sure. He's from Oshawa,
Mhm.
and there's more. Anyways, he is a 4chan guy, and he's from Oshawa, and he's going to jail. So good.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the full article here on him because that's been in the works. I mean, obviously, since 2022 was when that hack happened, and all of the donors and like innocent people who donated, $50 as the trucks left Vancouver for Ottawa back before they even made it into the core of Parliament Hill, and where you would always historically and traditionally protest the government, at the government's house, literally. And anyone who so much as donated 25, 30, $50 was leaked in that hack that this and Audrey was responsible for.
Yeah, he is the guy who claimed responsibility, just to be clear, for the Freedom Convoy hack of Give, Send, Go, which released the personal information, donors' names, and donation amounts for the Freedom Convoy. The government and the banks then used that illegally obtained information to abuse the civil liberties of Canadians, freezing their bank accounts, targeting them for all manner of things. And you don't even know the full implications of what the government did with that. So we know that Farm Credit Canada would deny farmers credit or financing based on their support of the Freedom Convoy. People were treated like enemies of the state using information this guy is taking credit for, illegally obtaining, which was then used by the government to attack Canadians. So the government of Canada used something that came to them with unclean hands. Actually, it's the proceeds of crime to freeze the bank accounts of Canadians. And they never really went after him. But in the United States, you do this kind of stuff and you're going to jail for at least 18 months. So at least there's some sort of satisfaction in that.
Yeah, do we have that clip where he manically is laughing and saying, haha, I was the one responsible for all of that? That was a very chilling clip that he
I've,
posted,
I've got this article from Vice. So after he did that, and he took, yeah, it was maniacal and evil. After he did that, oh, we can show that, yeah. After he did that, he claimed victim. He said, oh, people are threatening my life. And it's like, you gave their, first of all, don't threaten people's lives. I feel like I shouldn't have to give that caveat. But again, FAFO, my friend, you, like, people's lives were ruined by that bank account freeze. They couldn't pay their bills. They couldn't pay their insurance. They couldn't pay their mortgage. Some of them couldn't feed their kids because of what the government did with that information. And so, yeah, when you are taking food out of the mouths of people's children, that's enough to make them a little bit excitable. And then he said, oh, they're threatening me. They're threatening me with death threats. Okay. Okay.
Don't act
But
so surprised.
also, you're a criminal and you're bragging about doing something criminal. Why didn't anything happen to him in Canada? He was a Canadian. He had to be extradited to the United States to face justice there after he hacked the Republican Party. Anyways, we can watch that maniacal cackle of a man.
Yes, I doxed the truckers. I did it. It was me. I hacked Give, Send, Go, baby. And I'd do it again.
Just completely unhinged. Oh my goodness. And so he had to be extradited into the United States. But then he was sentenced here in Ontario. So if we can pull back up the Globe and Mail article here that just came out 40 minutes ago, and it was just updated a few minutes ago.
Sorry, I went off screen there for a second. I went out of frame because I had to get my rosary, because it's not often that you see a demon manifest on camera there, but That definitely happened.
Justice Joseph DeLuca of the Ontario Superior Court of Justice delivered Mr. Cottle's, oh, he does go by Mr., okay, sentence in a Newmarket courtroom on Friday. And after being reduced by
Oh, he
time
wasn't
served,
extradited. Oh, God.
he
See,
is only there going to serve 175 days or 5 months and 3 weeks from his 18-month initial sentence.
okay, so he wasn't even extradited. He was sentenced in Canada. And look at this. He also, they reduced his sentence on time served, but they should have increased it because he didn't comply to his bail conditions.
Yes.
Why was he out on bail?
Yeah, he
And
broke
was
his bail conditions and they're
But-
still only giving him five months.
He broke his bail conditions, and one of his bail conditions was to stay off the internet. What do you think he was doing on the internet?
And he was supposed to be living with his mother, but he wasn't. And he was accessing the internet unsupervised. So the Crown was seeking a 2.5-year sentence. And then I guess that would also be reduced by pretrial credit. But, you know, he ended up with just over 5.5 months.
Okay, let's read about his terrible conditions. One of them, I don't even know how we would know the difference. One of his lawyers, Riaz Sayani, a partner at a Toronto-based criminal law firm, Savards LLP, told the court that Mr. Cottle has faced especially harsh conditions in the prison, including extensive lockdowns, resulting in limited yard time. That's what the Freedom Convoy was fighting against, by the way, when the government did it to the entire country, you jerk, including extensive lockdowns, a triple bunked bed, and a malfunctioning toilet that required him to hold his bowels for days. Sure. His mental health has deteriorated. How would we even know? How would we even know? He was criminally charged both in Canada and the United States in connection with the hack.
And he was only charged for hacking, like
Texas, not the Freedom Convoy.
Not any of his fellow Canadians who, as you mentioned, took to the government's house to protest the same actions the government was imposing indiscriminately on Canadians that he's claiming are harsh conditions he's facing in prison.
Let's hope the Americans get him, because look at this. In the US, so these charges are still outstanding. Mr. Cottle has been charged with unlawfully transferring, possessing, or using a means of identification with the intent to commit or aid or abet or in connection with unlawful activity under state or federal law. He faces up to 5 years in the slammer if convicted on those charges.
F around and find out.
Exactly.
They also downloaded personal identifying information about the party's web server and shared it online.
Yeah.
And then they infiltrated Epic.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope he ends up being extradited to the United States to face those charges and held in an American prison so that he can really experience some harsh conditions and actually serve some actual time. Why was he out on bail?
As they say, the wheels of justice are so slow turning because it has been 3 years.
Yes. Let's move ahead to more leftists being crazy. Protesters surround Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston's car, and they smashed his windshield after his speech at Acadia University. He was there speaking to the Chamber of Commerce, and they attacked him and his car. I think there's a video of it, perhaps, maybe. Do we have? Yeah, let's watch.
What started as the first of Premier Tim Houston's tour of chambers of commerce across Nova Scotia devolved into a massive protest in which his car was surrounded and he required a police escort back into the building in which he had just previously given a speech at Acadia University in Wolfville. Houston was here ostensibly to talk about his vision for the province's economy and how to address what is a record-setting deficit through the efforts of things like natural resource development, offshore wind, and federal defense spending contracts that appear destined to favor Nova Scotia. A variety of issues that they were concerned about, including the environment, cannabis access, library
No
cuts
kidding.
and other issues surrounded him as he approached his vehicle. Houston sat in the vehicle for several minutes before ultimately RCMP moved him back inside the building where he remains. Houston is scheduled to be in Yarmouth tomorrow for his second stop on the tour. Michael Gorman, CBC News, Wolfville.
So they attacked the premier's car over cannabis access and library cuts. They're riding on the hood of the car. From what I can understand, no injuries were reported. Well, they're lucky because I would have driven right through these people. One man was arrested, and guess what? Later released without charges. There's a whole swath of cops there. Arrest these lunatics. Somebody smashed the windshield. Somebody's sitting on the roof of the car. Surely there's charges we can throw at people. This looks mischievous to me.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of disturbing the peace. I mean, isn't that a thing that the police are supposed to be there to uphold? The rainbow pants really speak volumes to me.
I think
And
those
here's all
are
the police.
ribbon pants. I
Here's
think
all the
those
police
are,
just hanging out.
yeah, they're just all lined up doing nothing. I think those are ribbon pants, like a ribbon skirt, Indigenous ribbon skirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't matter to me what they're wearing. It matters to me that I can see half a dozen criminal violations there.
What
we have-
was it in Nova Scotia, the Micmac? They had they attacked the police, didn't they, when they came and cracked down on their cannabis shop just a
Yes.
few weeks ago? And now,
Yes.
I mean, look at these people. Now the same group, arguably, is coming for the premier.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find that
me too.
that piece again, because that was just, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago or so that the police raided one of their cannabis stores. Yeah, here it is. Actually, sorry, wow, time flies. It's from March. That's when the police were first announcing. So this was from Global News in March, and we did talk about it before on the live stream, which I thought was 6 weeks ago, but apparently it's
6
longer
months
than
ago.
that. Time sure flies. But anyway, so the RCMP and the police raided this cannabis store in Nova Scotia, and then they went and they attacked a bunch of police cars. And I'm trying to find that news, Jack. So yeah, the tensions were growing, but I'm trying to find the piece where they actually attacked the police cars.
Yeah, I'm old enough to
and
remember
sparked
when
blockades.
Chris Sims in New Brunswick was taken, like basically nearly carjacked by these people when she was working for Sun News. This is in New Brunswick. I think it was Micmac also. It was anti-natural gas protest in Elsipogtog, I think is the name of the community. And their vehicles were attacked as well. And like attacking a news crew, and basically nothing came of it. So when you allow these like out of control warrior societies, that's what they call themselves, warrior societies, these Indigenous activist groups who use violence and obstruction to get their way, if you don't do anything about it, guess what happens? The premier gets attacked.
Yeah, here we are just escalating tensions. I can't seem to find, but I think one of them, either there was some serious damage done to at least one police car. Yeah, damaged RCMP vehicles. Yeah, so this is from April after the protest in Nova Scotia. And I can't remember, did they steal one of the vehicles or?
Yeah, they absolutely destroyed it.
Yeah, it was destroyed. 7 police vehicles were left behind. So the police literally had to flee the scene and leave their vehicles behind. And then they showed photos of the recovered vehicles. One police car was missing its wheels, glass windows were shattered, and tires were slashed on several of the SUVs. And then they confirmed all but one of the 7 were damaged. So then there's some pretty extensive damage. The tires are slashed, windows are smashed. I mean, yeah, you don't enforce any sort of law and order. Well, the escalation, you can see it unfolding various streets across Canada, but especially here now with the premier being targeted.
Yeah. Should we hit an ad break, come back on the other side with the wildfires and whatever else we have time for? I think so.
For generations, many Canadians have preserved more than just firearms. They've preserved history, tradition, competition, memories. But under Trudeau, and now Carney, heirlooms, estates, collectibles, and competition firearms now have to be surrendered and destroyed. While violent gun criminals get pass after pass, openly ignoring any legislation, lawful gun owners are trapped in an increasingly unfair legal system. But we can help. Canada's National Firearms Association's Save Firearms program offers the legal pathway to preserve what matters, while we work towards a political solution. Don't let yours be next. Save history. Save heritage. Save firearms. Visit nfa.ca today to learn more.
In Canada, firearms owners like me understand the importance of safe, effective self-defense options. That's why we're proud to have Byrna as a sponsor. Byrna's less lethal launchers are designed to help protect you and your family without taking a life. Byrna offers peace of mind, accessibility, and a practical layer of personal security for Canadians who value safety. Learn more at byrna.ca/rebel. That's byrna.ca/rebel.
Canada's been told to just quit smoking for decades, same message over and over, and yet millions of Canadians still smoke. So let's ask a follow-up question. For those who don't quit, what about change? In 2026, Canada has options that didn't exist years ago. Smoke-free alternatives for adults who would otherwise continue smoking. That doesn't mean risk-free, it means informed choice. If you don't smoke, don't start. If you smoke, quit. But for those who don't quit, change could still be part of the conversation. That's why Canadians should check out unsmoke.ca, an information resource focused on smoke-free alternatives and honest facts, not judgment. Put the lighter down, Canada. Learn what your options are.
Say, folks, I have an announcement to make. For years now, Rebel News has been taking supporters out to sea on our annual cruise. I am officially joining the News Cruise, November 28th to December 5th, 2026. Here's the big picture. This year, Rebel News is teaming up with our friends at Juno News for the very first time, making the News Cruise a true joint venture between two of Canada's most watched independent newsrooms. And the lineup sailing with me, you ask? Well, the big boss man Ezra Levant, he'll be there, of course, the man who has never once in his life been at a loss for words, which should make for excellent dinner conversation, or at least a very long conversation. Cian Bexley will be joining us too. Younger than me, of course, better hair than me, and knowingly good at his job. You'll want to sit across from Cian at dinner. And John Carpay, the brilliant constitutional lawyer from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, he will also be on board, which means if the captain tries to infringe on anyone's rights, we've got legal counsel on the Lido deck. We board Holland America Line's gorgeous MS Eurodam in Fort Lauderdale, Florida on Saturday, November 28th, and we don't come back until Saturday, December 5th, 7 full nights in the Eastern Caribbean. And there will be private receptions and candid, off-the-record conversations, the kind you will never see on any screen. And each evening at dinner, we will be rotating seats. So over the course of the week, you will sit across the table from all of us, not watching from a distance, not through a camera, across the table. Cabins are limited, and I cannot stress this enough. Every single cruise Rebel News has ever run has sold out. This year, with Juno News joining forces, demand is going to be even higher. So if you are on the fence, get off that fence and get on the boat. Visit thenewscruise.com to explore cabins and pricing. Please come join us. You just can't lose when you do the cruise.
Okay, I just wanted to go back to the violent Indigenous protests that seem to proliferate in this country. I mentioned Chris Sims when she worked for Sun News covering the LC Pogtog anti-natural gas protest. It wasn't just Sun News. It was anybody who was covering the protest, although the Sun News got it the worst, I think. So Sun News reporter Chris Sims, we all know and love her. She's over at the CTF now. She was intimidated and threatened by protesters at LC Pogtog. Global and CTV News crews had their equipment seized. And then Sean Atleo, so at the time, he was the Assembly of First Nations chief, Sean Atleo. He was supporting the violent protesters. Now we've got the same type saying they will use whatever means possible to stop Alberta independence. So I think we all know what that means. When a Sun News reporter, Josh Skurnick, I think was who it was, when he went to cover Atleo's press conference on this, he was shoved around at the press conference, like physically assaulted at the press conference, and nobody did anything. And so here we are some 13 years later, and absolutely nothing has changed.
Which is the absolute same when you look at the wildfire situation happening here in Ontario. We have the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, starting it off with a social media post as though, thoughts and prayers will help the situation. Yep. But he calls the wildfire situation in northwestern Ontario, so this is basically Thunder Bay and north of, and then there's a couple smaller ones south of Thunder Bay, but he says they've escalated significantly over the last 3 weeks. Thousands of people have been forced to evacuate their communities. And on behalf of Canadians, he wants to thank the brave firefighters, first responders, Indigenous and local leaders who are working tirelessly to keep people safe. And because conversations fix everything, his government is in close contact with provincial, municipal, and Indigenous partners and stands ready to provide any additional support as needed.
Can I give you some advice as an Albertan?
Yeah.
When the feds offer to help with wildfire problems, be concerned. We all know what happened in Jasper, which was federal jurisdiction. The fire it started inside of the park. It didn't get under control until the province intervened. It was mismanaged by the federal government from the beginning. It should not have been as bad as it was, but they didn't clear out the pine beetle deadfall out of the park. The federal government also they installed different fittings on the
fire hydrants.
Thank you. My brain just it's my age. I had a bit of a mini stroke there. They installed the wrong fittings on the fire hydrants, outside fire trucks, which were standing ready. They couldn't hook to it. They declined private expertise in fighting the wildfire, people who are hired by the province of Alberta to get wildfires under control. Turned them away, didn't allow any water to be drawn from the rivers inside of the park to save the houses. Private firefighters were eventually allowed in, but only on behalf of insurance companies that sent them to protect the resorts inside the park. But even when they said we could have and we were willing to help the community, the federal government said no, and it really wasn't under control until the Alberta government got involved. So if Mark Carney is offering help, just best of luck to all of you in Ontario.
Right. And don't forget that it will come out later, potentially, and has previously, that the wildfires are started as a result of arson and
Right.
not this climate alarmist hysteria that the likes of the government and the mainstream media would have you believe. I mean, the government claims to care so much about climate change and global warming and carbon capture and is heavily invested in all of these efforts. And yet, we don't have any extra water bombers that could, prevent the magnitude of fires that we're seeing now. I mean, if you catch these while they're a lot smaller, it's a lot easier to at least quell the massiveness of the area that's covered. I saw this go a little bit viral yesterday. Carla Treadway,
Yes.
she's the host of Sovereign Sphere podcast. She had a fun take that is very accurate, that Canada could have more water bombers if Brookfield had anything to do with investing in water bombers.
So there's big fires in Ontario right now. And, for years now, I'm seeing constant warnings about extreme weather patterns. This is new, climate change. So I did a little Google here, because if that is actually what these people think, then for sure, you would have purchased a ton of new water bombers. This is what it said. In the last 10 years, that's a lot of time, 12 water bombers have been purchased for all of Canada, which maybe will arrive in 2031. What? Y'all just sent 900 million to Ukraine, 11 million to Indonesia for gender-sensitive rice. You're paying billions of dollars to pump air into the earth, and you didn't think to get one plane in the last 10 years. These people aren't actually serious about the things that they fearmonger around. If they were, you'd probably have some new water bombers here so we could actually fight the fires.
Yeah, 100%. And the 900 million was just the recent installment into Ukraine.
Right.
Over the last few years, Canada has sent over nearly $26 billion to Ukraine in all these various funding allocations. And don't forget, there's military equipment and ammunition and things like this that have gone over to Ukraine. But cumulatively, this is almost $26 billion, and we couldn't get 10 new water bombers before 2031. I mean, priorities, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, as an Albertan who deals with wildfires every single year, once the lefties get involved in fighting wildfires, it's going to be a catastrophe. One of my biggest stories way back in 2016, God, that's 10 years ago, was in relation to the Fort McMurray wildfire. 1/3 of the town burned, miraculously, but not really miraculously when you think about it. Everybody was able to evacuate from the town without incident. Somebody was killed on the highway during the evacuation. That's owing to the close proximity of Fort McMurray to the oil and gas sector, because everybody is trained to evacuate. Everybody knows how to muster and then evacuate safely. So it was the oil and gas sector, the skills learned there saved lives. But the NDP, when they took power in 2015, what's the first thing they cut? They cut ag and forestry, which included the water bomber contract. So they spent everywhere else, including the public sector. The one place they cut affected the people who didn't live in downtown Edmonton and Calgary, agriculture and forestry. And so what happened was they had to rewrite the water bomber contracts, because many of them are private companies that are on contract with the province, and there's sort of are always available if you on contract. But without being on contract with the province of Alberta, a lot of these guys they had to take work elsewhere. So by the time they were necessary. They were already on contract with BC or in the United States or in other provinces, leaving us short on water bombers in a terrible wildfire season. And Alberta's communities paid the price. So anyway, that's my story of leftists, wildfire fighting, and water bombers.
Yeah, there's some cuts too that have happened here in Ontario, and I guess the government this year tried to make up for them. There was a shortage of pilots, and obviously aging and inadequate bombers and equipment. So all of this plays a role in how we got here today. Maybe the focus should be less on carbon capture and pumping air back into the earth.
Right.
And instead focused on getting the equipment and the trained people hired on their merits, not based on some nonsense DEI scale or criteria, so that we can actually prevent and respond adequately to these situations.
Yes.
Time and time again, we see that that's just not happening across all levels of government. And here we are.
Here we are. Let's touch real quick on this, the Indigenous chiefs. Oh, and I say the chiefs, not Indigenous people. So frequently the chiefs don't reflect the values of their own people. The status quo is working for the chiefs. It's not necessarily working for the people. Chiefs call on the feds to criminalize residential school denialism as hate speech. Now, residential school denialism seems to be a catch-all phrase, because I'm not even sure what that means. Nobody is denying that residential schools existed. Nobody is denying that bad things happened there. But I think a lot of Canadians are in the middle, where they take a more nuanced approach to residential schools. And a lot of people are just saying, would you mind showing us some evidence of anything that you're saying here with regard to mass graves, accusing the Catholic Church of wide-scale murder of children? I think that, according to the activists, falls into the term residential school denialism, and they would like to see anybody who's a skeptic of stories being told without any evidence whatsoever of they would like to see those people charged criminally with hate speech.
Yeah, criminalizing skepticism is the hallmark of totalitarian regimes. And that's what the attempt is here. And so the chiefs have passed an emergency resolution at the Assembly of First Nations on Tuesday earlier this week, calling on the feds to criminalize residential school denialism as hate speech. Simply questioning or being critical or skeptical of something doesn't, in my view, fit any criteria of being hateful. And it's so rich that the chief, David Monias of the Pimicmac Cree Nation, I am sorry if I did not pronounce that correctly, but he is quoted here as saying, "Truth is not optional, and reconciliation cannot exist without truth." That's literally what we have been saying for the last almost 5 years.
The first part of that is truth.
Yeah, let's get to the truth here. For instance, 215 mass graves of child bodies were never discovered at the Kamloops Shumwik First Nation residential school property. There is no evidence other than highly suspicious ground penetrating radar, which could pick up anything from an old septic bed to tree roots, to say or prove that this is any sort of child remains existing in this field. If we don't have the truth on that, and I think it's pretty telling that the band itself updated their verbiage on this from 215 mass graves to now calling them anomalies. That's what they say about these findings, is that they found anomalies through this ground penetrating radar. They don't even call them bodies or graves anymore, because there's nothing to prove that that's accurate and an accurate depiction of what actually lies underneath the ground. And they've been given millions of dollars to excavate and find the truth. Where's that money? Because it hasn't gone into any excavation.
Yeah. Yeah,
And apparently just me saying that is what they want to criminalize and call hate speech.
straight to jail.
Yeah,
Straight to jail.
gulags for me.
Yep. Speaking of gulags, apparently the migrant camp, I want to call it, in the Netherlands, which was, I was digging around on this story because I just find it so interesting. The migrant camp for transgender refugees fleeing Donald Trump for some reason in the Netherlands is a bit of a gulag, according to the people who were there. So this story's from the Western Standard, but it's around in other places. Oh gosh, get out of here. A transgender refugee who fled the US says he fears being killed in Dutch asylum center by migrants. Transgender, we describe
Woman?
a transgender, no. Western Standard, no. Who fled to the Netherlands from the United States due to the oppression of President Donald Trump and his government policies is having second thoughts about where he's at. The unnamed biological man recently told Dutch television news show Pauw News that he was placed in a migrant center in Ter Apel, a small town of 10,000 people, and that he felt unsafe in the facility. I thought you were unsafe in the United States. Maybe you
Right.
should go home.
All
where
of a
you
sudden,
came
the
from.
US doesn't seem so bad now, does it?
Yeah.
These people, that's the thing. There's no like awareness of what is happening globally and geographically and where you live. And then it's all of a sudden you end up in this place and you're like, wait a minute, maybe the US is actually more tolerant than I've been led to believe by these ridiculous institutions and the mainstream media. And again, fool around and find out, I think,
Yeah,
is
there's lots in that
the
file
theme of
today.
this show.
There's lots in that file today. The man says, between here and there is a bunch of Algerians and Moroccans or whoever who think that queer people should be beaten. I think this system where you have people just living out here that are unhappy is not good.
Sounds kind of anti-immigration, if you ask me.
It's almost like, yeah, if you were safer in the United States, but also you're probably a white middle class weirdo. That's usually where these people are from in the United States. You're fully capable of landing on your feet in a place like the Netherlands. Why are you in a refugee camp? Why?
Right.
Go get a job. The center is the largest in the Netherlands, houses roughly 2,200 people from around the world, predominantly from Middle Eastern and African countries, and is known in the Dutch media for overcrowding and violence. Go home. Just go home.
I love it that toward the middle of the article, it says the man's comments, when posted, I guess, on social media, found little sympathy online as many commentators argued he had found out that the grass is definitely not greener on the other side.
Yeah, so you fled the United States because Trump won't let you beat the crap out of women in combat sports. And apparently that was some sort of genocide.
And
so
use their bathrooms.
Yeah, you can't creep out my daughters in the bathroom. And so you figure that made you a legitimate refugee. You went all the way to the Netherlands thinking that Holland would open you with welcome arms, and instead you eat up the public resources in a refugee camp for some reason because your feelings are hurt by President Trump. And now you're finding out that maybe uncontrolled, unfettered immigration from less desirable places, less progressive places, ain't so hot. I dug up an article on the Lemkin Institute for Genocide Prevention and Human Security. Okay. Like, of course, I can't believe it needs to be said, but I am against real genocide. I helped raise money for Christians in northern Iraq. I walked behind an actual genocide. I told, or at least I helped tell the stories of genocide survivors when I was there. Trump not letting you swing your wiener around in the ladies' change room, that's not a genocide. But anyways, the Lemkin Institute seems to think so. They've got an article about inside the refugee camp for trans Americans fleeing Trump. Well,
Oh my
I,
gosh.
I think it's a refugee camp for everybody, and that's the problem for these people. So it's Terra Pell, it's the same one. A small unassuming Dutch town near the German border is a place tourists rarely have on their itinerary. There's no windmills, no cannabis-filled coffee shops, and a recent visit, it was far too early for tulip season. Okay, great. When foreigners end up there, it is for one reason, to claim asylum at the Netherlands' biggest refugee camp, home to 2,000 people. Eritreans and Somalians fleeing war. Syrians insist it still remains unsafe for them to return home after the fall of Assad. And then a bunch of Americans who say they have feared for their lives ever since Donald Trump returned to the White House.
Oh, that mix is just chef's kiss for the reality check needed.
Wait, it gets better. There's more reality check in here. And I can't believe this is an article written in favor of the LGBTQ plus AI refugees, because it goes on to say their presence has surprised many of the camp's residents. One guy says, "My dream is to go to America or the UK. America for me is paradise," says Usama, a 21-year-old Libyan Algerian hanging around the main gate. "You can work, you can make $1 million if you have a good idea." Why they come here? Great question, Usama. Great question. Yeah, anyways. There's American refugees like Jan Michelle Ark, a 47-year-old software, and see, I was right. Bunch of white middle-class weirdos. A 47-year-old software engineer from San Francisco, who's transgender. Last April, I'm just going to say he flew into Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam and, sobbing, asked for a customs officer how to claim asylum, and they laughed. Because what's this dumb American doing here asking about asylum? And then they realized I was serious. No, they were right to laugh. Anyway, this is quite
Because
an
all these
article.
people are saying that their dream is to go to America, the land of the free.
Right.
And there you are in the Netherlands trying to claim asylum.
This article is rife with, like, I'm not even going to say legitimate refugees, but people from undesirable parts of the world looking at these trans refugees from Silicon Valley and saying, "What's wrong with you?" I hear a lot of people saying, "You're an idiot. You came here from America." People will tell me, "Did you think about moving to California?" And then I say, like, because they realize California is more progressive. And then I say, "Well, I lived in San Francisco." And then they go, "Oh, that's a heaven for gay people." Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Anyways, quite funny. I love this article.
And I hope let's not let the mainstream media in Canada or any Canadian judges catch wind of this situation, because here in Canada, you can be a transgender inmate and have a bunch of dangerous offenses and a track record, a criminal record for sex offenses against women, but you can then identify as a woman and just ride off into the sunset at a women's prison. This comes from CBC, where a judge refused to order a transgender,
thank God,
so
finally,
a biological male inmate be moved to a women's prison. So yeah, maybe
finally,
the tides are turning, but the history and the track record shows that this is not even close to being always the case.
Can we show a picture? There we go. Of
this is Amanda.
Amanda.
Like Amanda,
heavy on the middle syllable there.
Yeah, it's Amanda. Amanda Cooper, 59, is a designated dangerous offender with a record for sex offenses against women.
Did we pay for that boob job, by the way?
Probably. Ontario.
The second I saw that,
sure.
I was like, we paid for those cans. I know it.
Yeah. The hardworking taxpayers of Ontario definitely paid for those. So Amanda Cooper is a federal inmate who underwent gender surgery in 2024. There's a picture of
where we
this
go. We did
person.
That. Congrats.
A lengthy record of sex crimes involving women. And so this judge has refused his request to order the Correctional Service of Canada to move him from the men's prison into a woman's institution. Not even maybe like a healing sweat lodge was the request, because it says women's institution instead of prison.
From
So
what
I
I
wonder there.
understand, from what I understand about this offender, Amanda was also creepy towards the female guards in the male prison. Like, this person is just a walking sex offense. And even while incarcerated, trying to go after the female guards in the prison. But the judge says, this is quite something. It is not without some reluctance that I thus dismiss this judicial review application, because it means leaving Ms. Cooper, a woman. Like, the judge is very clear, this is a woman in a male institution, Justice Janet Fuhrer said in a decision released this week. These reasons and judgment should not be viewed, however, as any kind of blanket determination that a transgender or gender diverse inmate who is designated as a dangerous offender cannot be transferred to an institution that aligns with their gender identity and may happen eventually for Ms. Cooper. Each such case will depend on their unique circumstances. So this is a judge who would normally put a dude in a female prison, but for the fact that Ms. Cooper was so unmitigated in their desire to reoffend in a sexual manner. The judge is saying, don't read into this. It's still okay to put men in women's prisons. This one is bad.
Right. Yeah. And then if they break down some of the numbers that are happening currently in Canada, roughly 1% of federal inmates identify as gender diverse. So whatever that means. But as of October, so last year, there were 90 who identified as transgender women, with 17 of those 90 incarcerated in women's facilities, and the remainder in men's. So what is that? A third, basically, just under a third.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Like 20%. Yuck. Is there anything we want to get to? We're
All right.
a little over time.
Do we have any super chats or any birthday wishes for Sheila? I think we're all good there.
We just have a nice message from the Rumble chats for Tamara Ugolini. It's TIL baby. Tamara Ugolini is the most important voice in Canadian media. I wanted to take a moment to thank her for the last 4 years. Keep up the fantastic reporting, and thank you for presenting the truth. Aww.
Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure to do this work. I am still sometimes shocked that I am here now. All of the things
it never goes away
to this have been, nothing more than divine intervention. So it has been an absolute blessing to be here and do this work. Thank you for noticing.
That sense of wonderment never quite goes away. Even now, like 11 years later, I'm like, well, I was just like a shit disturbing stay-at-home mom 11 years ago, plucked from obscurity, and Ezra's like, here, you're a journalist now.
One of the first to be arrested during the COVID era.
Yeah, you were.
And then here I am as a journalist who, has built so much credibility and this audience and this support. So thank you, everyone, for continuing that support and for ensuring that our channels, our journalism, Rebel News stays alive and well, because we do wonderful work here, and obviously that goes without saying, but it's truly up to our viewers who we're responsible to keep this going. So thank you, everyone. Happiest of birthdays to Sheila. I hope that you have a fun time tonight, whatever your plans are, and that you can take some time for some R&R, because it is very much deserved. And
I'm working all weekend on the signs. I got to get up at 5 tomorrow, and then it's signs all weekend. But that's okay.
Well, if you see Sheila out there, give her a little present and tell her to go and get some rest. Let her leave early, at least. All right. Thanks everybody for joining, and we will be back at the same time and place tomorrow from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. So come back then for more. And until then, stay sane and question everything.
I've got a big announcement. Rebel News Live is back this fall, and we're coming to 3 cities: Calgary, Vancouver, and Toronto. Rebel News Live will be in Calgary on Saturday, October 31st at the Carriage House Hotel and Conference Center. Then we're heading to Vancouver on Saturday, November 14th. And then on to Toronto on Saturday, November 21st at Canada Christian College in Whitby. 3 cities, 3 incredible days, and I want to see you there. Now, if you've never been to one of our live events before, let me tell you what it's like, because I genuinely believe there's nothing else like it in Canada. We've been doing these gatherings for years, and every single time without fail, the thing people tell me afterwards, the thing they remember most isn't any particular speech, as good as the speeches are. It's the feeling in the room. It's walking in and realizing you are surrounded by hundreds of Canadians who think the way you think, who care about the things you care about, who've been watching the same stories you've been watching and asking the same questions you've been asking. People who have felt, frankly, a little bit alone in their communities and who suddenly realize they are not alone at all. That is what Rebel News Live is. It's a convention. It's a family reunion of sorts. It's a day where you get to be yourself completely without apology. And once you've experienced it, you keep coming back. Our attendees know what I mean. We have regulars. Now, who's going to be there this fall? I'll be there. Sheila Gunn Reid will be there. Tamara will be there. And the Rebel News team will be joining us. Over the coming weeks, we'll be announcing some additional very special guest speakers. And trust me, you're going to want to hear who's coming. Stay tuned. Here's what the day looks like. Doors open at 8 in the morning with a light breakfast. Then a full slate of speeches and panel discussions, the kind of conversations you would never see on the CBC. Catered lunch, more speakers in the afternoon, and for VIP ticket holders, an exclusive dinner with me, Sheila, Tamara, and our guests at the end of the night. And in between all that, we've got a full merchandise store on site, Rebel News toques and hoodies and mugs and books. And yes, I will be there to sign them, and we'll have other sponsors and exhibitor booths from some of the best freedom-oriented businesses and organizations in the country, people you want to know about, causes worth supporting, and groups doing the real work on the issues that matter. It's worth showing up early to spend some time at those booths before the speeches begin. It's the best gathering of freedom-minded Canadians anywhere in the country. I've been saying that for years, and I keep saying it because it keeps being true. Now, I need to be straight with you about one thing. These events sell out every single year without exception. If you wait too long, you will not get in. I've seen it happen. I don't want it to happen to you. So here's what I need you to do right now. Go to rebelnewslive.com and get your tickets at the early bird price, because that price will not be around forever. Calgary on October 31st, Vancouver on November 14th, Toronto on November 21st. Pick your city, pick your date, and get your seats locked in before they're gone. There's nothing quite like spending a full day in a room full of Canadians who actually get it, people who've been watching, who've been following along, who are in this fight with us. I'll see you there. Go to rebelnewslive.com. Get your tickets at the early bird price.